Okay everybody, Tektalar here again with the 9th episode of the Heroes Appendix video series. Its purpose is to help newer and veteran players alike to fully understand the ins and outs of all the characters in Hero Wars Mobile. In today's video, we are reviewing the second place winner of the most recent vote amongst my patrons, and probably one of the heroes who is seldom used outside of his most popular team, Kai. Kai is a midline mage hero who has a reasonably sized health pool, the highest magic penetration of all the mages, and a whopping 100% vampirism. He lands under the steady pressure tier, which means he deals steady and consistent damage over the course of the fight rather than in huge bursts. He's one of the heroes who wasn't previously very good, received a new skin, which was his solar skin in 2019, got a huge boost to his usefulness, but few people invested in him despite gaining a lot of damage output and survivability. In today's video, we're going to be discussing his skills, how they visually appear, and their uses both practically and strategically, when to use Kai, when not to use him, his roles in the team, artifact priority order, skin priority order, and glyph stat priority order. First up today is Kai's activatable skill, Fetters of the Wind, which is commonly referred to as his ultimate because this is the ability he can use once his yellow energy gauge is filled during battle. Kai grows larger in size, raises one hand, lowers it, and raises the other and releases a giant tornado that tears through the enemy team, knocking them into the air and dealing damage. The damage ratio for this skill is reasonably high at 45% magic attack, considering this is the value per strike, and it strikes all 5 enemy heroes. Kai's second skill is called Breath of the Abyss. Kai will let out a yell and look forward, raising up his hand, and a small blaze will appear at the feet of the enemies closest to Kai, with a fairly large radius. The enemies don't need to be as close as you'd think to suffer the damage. This skill has a 30% magic attack ratio, which is pretty low, but it hits 3 to 4 targets at once typically, so he gets a sizable amount of survivability and chip damage from this skill. This skill can be used once every 13.5 seconds. Kai's third skill is called Explosive Sphere. Explosive Sphere deals damage at a 30% magic attack ratio to the closest target as pure damage over 3 seconds, so it hits every 1/2 second. And then it explodes, dealing magic damage to the nearby enemies at a 30% magic damage ratio. However, the radius of this explosion is a little bit smaller than his second skill, so it's not going to hit quite as many targets. This skill is represented by him leaning back slightly, bending down a little while pushing one of his hands into the other, and depending on which you're originally from, if you have a gaming or anime background, looks like he's firing off either a Hadouken or a Kamehameha. There will be an orb that hovers over the enemy, flashing and dealing damage. This skill can be used once every 17.5 seconds. And Kai's passive skill, it grants him vampirism. It's called Stolen Life. So basically every time he deals damage, he gets an equal amount of health in return for whatever damage he dealt. So that makes him deceptively tanky. Now let's take a look and see when we should be using Kai in our team. The first instance is with Kark. Everybody knows this one. However, a common misconception floating around the internet is that Kai should replace Faceless in a Kark team, which just isn't true. Kai should be replacing Nebula, Jorgen, or Martha, which are the supports on the Kark team. With the synergy of Kai's first skill and Kark's third skill, saying every time Kai knocks the enemy into the air, Kark will hit them for double damage, and this happens to the entire enemy team. Normally, Kark's ultimate only hits 3 people, and Faceless's lift only gives him 1 unit that he hits, but Kai's tornado will make them hit all 5, obviously the only exception being if Anvari is protecting them. Something worthy of note, though, is that with Kark's ultimate, he only lifts the 3 lowest health enemies, so if Anvari is not one of the lowest health, Kark will not lift him up and will not deal damage to him. However, with Kai on the team, when Kai's tornado goes out, it will hit Anvari and the tank every single time. So Anvari will always take that extra damage. So if you're someone who has a Kark team who needs to get through Anvaris frequently, Kai may be one of your best substitutes that you can get. The second time to use him in your team is if you're just looking for a steady, consistent damage dealer. He's a great complement to meta team combinations or even stall teams. I know it might sound like a weird concept because his main role is to deal damage, but the damage that he deals keeps him alive. So if you put him in the middle of a bunch of people who are healing and tanking, that kind of thing, he ends up creating counter pressure, so they can't just bring really weak units or a lot of damage units with no healers. It makes them fill their team as they normally would, because they have to be careful that Kai doesn't kill them in the process of them trying to kill all of your tanks. Another time to consider using Kai is with heroes who have skills that lump the enemy units together to take advantage of the AoE damage that he deals. For example, Maya, Faceless, Galahad, and Fox. The last time you should consider Kai for your team is if you have multiple magic attack buffs on your team, or you could benefit from an additional one and need a filler unit. Kai spells make him an extremely flexible unit and a force to be reckoned with. Now we'll take a look at when you should specifically be avoiding Kai in your team. The enemy has a magic defense artifact weapon buffs, such as Phobos, Thea, Peppy, Lilith, Cornelius, and Maya, and Kai is your main damage dealer, you should shy away from those teams. Or if the opposing team has Rufus as their main tank. Beyond that, there's not really much reason to avoid using Kai. Now we'll briefly discuss his roles in the team as they were just mentioned in the previous section. Kai's main role is damage dealer, which can be supplemental when paired with meta-team combinations such as Satori, Cleaver and Peppy, Kark and Faceless, or even a main damage dealer when not paired with a meta combination. Next we'll discuss artifact priority, which means which artifact is the most important to level up first. First up is his artifact book, which grants 10,680 magic penetration and 5,340 magic attack. This will ensure he's able to deal as much damage as possible and pierce the enemy's magic defenses, which also doubles over and acts as his survivability as well because he's able to use more of the vampirism. Second in priority is his artifact weapon, the Wanderer's Mantle, which grants 32,040 magic attack. While it doesn't give as big of a bonus to him consistently throughout the fight, he will oftentimes be in teams who can really benefit a lot from this bonus alongside him. Lastly is his ring, which grants him 11,970 magic attack, 3,990 magic defense, and 3,990 physical attack, which is about 18% of his total magic attack, and his ability to shell out damage consistently throughout the fight. In this segment, we'll be discussing his skins, which are relatively easy to obtain as far as priority is concerned, which is good. The top priority skin is his Solar Skin, which offers 10,650 magic penetration, which is available for purchase with skin scrolls and yields approximately 37% of his total magic penetration. The second priority skin is his Winter Skin, which offers 10,650 magic attack, and is up next because this is tied directly both to his damage and his survivability. Once his magic penetration is maxed, then his damage is what's going to help keep him alive the longest. The third in priority is his Champion Skin, which is obtained via Gold League trophies from Guild Wars, and offers 106,871 health, which is approximately 40% of his total health, and contributes the most to his survivability. The fourth in priority is his Default Skin, which offers him 1,365 physical attack, 1,365 magic defense, and 4,095 magic attack, which contributes to his critical hit resistance and minor additional damage and survivability. In our final segment, we will now be discussing glyph stat priority. So what that means is of all the stats your hero can get, which ones are the most important for you to upgrade first to yield the best results. The first glyph to choose is Magic Penetration, which grants 3,360 magic penetration and is the biggest contributor to his damage and survivability. The second glyph is his health, which grants 30,800 health to grant him enough extra health that it's not necessary to go into his health skin early. The third glyph up is his magic attack, which grants 3,360 magic attack and is the next biggest contributor to both damage and survivability. The fourth glyph to choose is his intelligence, totaling 1,680 magic attack, 560 magic defense, and 560 physical attack, which is up next in damage dealing and again survivability. The fifth in priority is magic defense, since given he doesn't mitigate much damage and will passively gain from his intelligence anyway, he has enough health to soak the damage and vampirism to keep himself alive and kicking, so his magic defense is relatively low priority. Okay everybody, hopefully you found this video informative. If you do, please like, follow, and subscribe to my YouTube channel called Server 2 Productions. Another thing to consider is recommending my content to your friends as well if you know they yearn for knowledge of the game. Since these videos are private, word of mouth is how they will get spread. Also, for a large and active Hero Wars community, join my Facebook group. It's called Hero Wars Mobile Community, The GOAT. The link will be in this video's description. Thanks for watching.